I think a lot of people don't realize how massive the positive impact AI is going to have on their life.
Well, I would argue that the idea that this AI disruption doesn't lead us to human catastrophe is optimistic. For example, people are going to be unemployed in huge numbers.
You agree with that, don't you?
Yes, if your job is as routine as it comes, it's gone in the next couple of years. But it's going to create new opportunities for wealth creation.
Let me put it to you this way. We have created a new species, and nobody on Earth can predict what's going to happen.
We are joined by three leading voices to debate the most disruptive shift in human history, the rise of AI.
And they're answering the questions you're most scared about.
This technology is going to get so much more powerful. And yes, we're going to go through a period of disruption, but at the other end, we're going to create a fair world. It's enabling people to run their businesses, make a lot of money.
And you can solve meaningful problems such as the breakthroughs in global healthcare and education will be phenomenal, and you can live an incredibly fulfilling existence.
Well, I would just say on that front, this has always been the fantasy of technologists, to do marvelous things with our spare time, but we end up doom scrolling.
Loneliness epidemic.
Right, falling birth rates. So the potential for good here is infinite, and the potential for bad is 10 times. For example, there's war, undetectable deep fakes, and scams, so people don't understand how many different ways they are going to be robbed.
Look, I don't think blaming technology for all of it is the right thing. All these issues, they're already here.
We're all fathers here. So what are you saying to your children?
Well, first of all,
This has always blown my mind a little bit. 53% of you that listen to this show regularly haven't yet subscribed to the show. So could I ask you for a favor before we start? If you like the show and you like what we do here and you want to support us, the free, simple way that you can do just that is by hitting the subscribe button. And my commitment to you is if you do that, then I'll do everything in my power, me and my team, to make sure that this show is better for you every single week. We'll listen to your feedback, we'll find the guests that you want me to speak to, and we'll continue to do what we do. Thank you so much. The reason why I wanted to have this conversation with all of you is because the subject matter of AI, but more specifically AI agents, has occupied my free time for several weeks in a row. And actually, Amjad, when I started using Replit, for me, it was a paradigm shift. There was two paradigm shifts in a row that happened about a week apart. ChatGPT released their image generation model where you could create any image and it was incredibly detailed with text and all those things. That was a huge paradigm shift. And then in the same week, I finally gave in to try and figure out what this term AI agent was that I was hearing all over the internet. I heard vibe coding, I heard AI agent. I was like, I will give it a shot. And when I used Replit, 20 minutes in to using Replit, my mind was blown. And I think that night I stayed up till 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning. For anyone that doesn't know, Replit is a piece of software that allows you to create software and pretty much any software you want. So someone like me with absolutely no coding skills was able to build a website, build in Stripe, take payment, integrate AI into my website, add Google login to the front of my website, and do it within minutes. I then got the piece of software that I had built with no coding skills, sent it to my friends, and one of my friends put his credit card in and paid.
amazing.
So I just launched a SaaS company with no coding skills. To demonstrate an AI agent in a very simple way, I used an online AI agent called Operator to order us all some water from a CVS around the corner. The AI agent did everything end to end, and people will be watching it on the screen. It put my credit card details in, it picked the water for me, it gave the person a tip, it put some delivery notes in. At some point, a guy is going to walk in. He has not interacted with a human. He's interacted with my AI agent. And the reason I use this as an example is, again, it was a paradigm shift moment for me when I heard about agents about a month ago, and I went on and I ordered a bottle of electrolytes. And when my doorbell rang, I freaked out. But Amjad, who are you? And what are you doing?
So I started programming at a very young age. You know, I built my first business when I was a teenager. I used to go to internet cafes and program there. And I realized that they don't have software to manage the business. I was like, oh, why don't you create accounts? Why don't you have a server? It took me 2 years to build that piece of software. And that sort of embedded in my mind this idea that, hey, like, you know, there's a lot of people in the world with really amazing ideas, especially in the context where they live in, that allows them to build businesses. However, the main source of friction between an idea and software, or call it an idea and wealth creation, is infrastructure. Is physical infrastructure, is meaning a computer in front of you. It is an internet connection. It is the set of tools and skills that you need to build that. If we make it so that anyone who has ideas, who wants to solve problems, will be able to do it. I mean, imagine the kind of world that we could live in where no one can be, anyone who has merit, anyone who can think clearly, anyone who can generate a lot of ideas can generate wealth. I mean, that's an amazing world to live in, right? Anywhere in the world. So with Replit, the company that I started in 2016, the idea was like, okay, coding is difficult. How do we solve coding? And we built every part of the process, the hosting, the code editor. The only missing thing was the AI agent. And so over the past 2 years, we've been working on this AI agent that you can just, similar, since ChatGPT, this revolution with Gen AI, and you can just speak your ideas into existence. I mean, this starts, sounding religious. Like this is like the gods, that the myths that humans have created. They used to imagine a world where you can be everywhere and anywhere at once. That's sort of the internet, and you can also speak your ideas into existence. And it's still early. I think Replit Agent is a fantastic tool, and I think this technology is going to get so much more powerful.
Specifically, what is an AI agent?
Mm-hmm.
I've got this graph actually here, which I don't need to pass to any of you to be able to see the growth of AI agents. But this graph is Google search trend data.
This also resembles our revenue too.
Oh, okay, right. The water has arrived. Hello. Thank you. You can come on in.
Can I have the code, please?
Yes, it's 3951.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, this is like a supernatural kind of power. You conjured water.
I conjured water from my mind.
Yeah.
And it's shown up here with us.
And it clearly thinks we need a lot.
Yeah. But just to define the term AI agent for someone that's never heard the term before.
Yeah. Yeah, so I assume most of the audience now are familiar with ChatGPT, right? You can go in and you can talk to an AI. It can search the web for you. It has a limited amount of tools. Maybe it can call a calculator to do some addition and subtraction for you. But that's about it. It's a request response style. Agents are when you give it a request and they can work indefinitely until they achieve a goal or they run into an error and they need your help. It's an AI bot that has access to tools. Those tools are access to a web browser like Operator, access to a programming environment, say like Replit, access to credit cards. The more tools you give the agent, the more powerful it is. Of course, there's all these considerations around security and safety and all of that stuff. But the most important thing is that AI agent will determine when it's finished executing. Today, AI agents can run for anywhere between 30 seconds to 30 minutes. There's a recent paper that came out that's showing that every 7 months, the number of minutes that the agent can run for is doubling. So we're at like 30 minutes now. In 7 months, we're going to be at an hour, then 2 hours. Pretty soon, we're going to be at days. And at that point, AI agent is doing labor, is doing kind of human-like labor. And actually, OpenAI's new model, O3, beat the expectation. So it sort of doubled coherence over long horizon tasks in just 3 or 4 months. So we're in this massive, and I mean, this exponential graph, that shows you the massive trend we're on.
Brett, give us a little bit of your background, but also I saw you writing some notes there. There was a couple of words used there that I thought were quite interesting, especially considering what I know about you. The word God was used a few times.
Well, let me just say I'm an evolutionary biologist, and probably for the purposes of this conversation, it would be best to think of me as a complex systems theorist. One of the things that I believe is true about AI is that this is the first time that we have built machines that have crossed the threshold from the highly complicated into the truly complex. And I will say I'm listening to this conversation with a a mixture of profound hope and dread, because it seems to me that it is obvious that the potential good that can come from this technology is effectively infinite. But I would say that the harm is probably 10 times. It's a bigger infinity. And the question of how we are going to get to a place where we can leverage the obvious power that is here to do good and dodge the worst harms, I have no idea. I know we're not prepared. So I hear you talking about agents, and I think that's marvelous. We can all use such a thing right away, and the more powerful it is, the better. The idea of something that can solve problems on your behalf while you're doing something else is marvelous. But of course, that is the precondition for absolute devastation to arise out of a miscommunication, right? To have something acting autonomously to accomplish a goal, you damn well better understand what the goal really is and how to pull back the reins in the event that it starts accomplishing something that wasn't the goal. The potential for abuse is also utterly profound. You know, you can imagine, just pick your dark mirror fantasy dystopia where something has been told to hunt you down until you're dead, and it sees that as a technical challenge. So I don't know quite how to balance a discussion about all of the things that can clearly come from this that are utterly transcendent. I mean, I do think it is not inappropriate to be invoking God or biblical metaphors here. You know, you're producing water seemingly from thin air. I believe that does have an exact biblical parallel. So, any case, the power is here, but so too is the need for cautionary tales, which we don't have. That's the problem, is that there's no body of myth that will warn us properly of this tool, because we've just crossed a threshold that is similar in its capacity to alter the world as the invention of writing. I really think that's where we are. We're talking about something that is going to fundamentally alter what humans are with no plan. You know, writing alters the world slowly because the number of people who can do it is tiny at first and remains so for thousands of years. This is changing things weekly. And that's an awful lot of power to just simply have dumped on a system that wasn't well regulated to begin with.
Dan.
Yeah, so I'm an entrepreneur. I've been building businesses for the last 20 plus years. I'm completely well positioned between the two of you here. The excitement of the opportunity and the terror of what could go on. There's this image that I saw of New York City in 1900, and every single vehicle on the street is a horse and cart. And then 13 years later, the same photo from the same vantage point, and every single vehicle on the street is a car. And in 13 years, all the horses had been removed and cars had been put in place. And if you had have interviewed the horses in 1900 and said, how do you feel about your level of confidence in the world? The horses would have said, well, we've been part of humanity for, horse and hoof, hand and hoof for many, many years, for thousands of years. There's one horse for every 3 humans. Like, how bad could it be? We'll always have a special place. We'll always be part of society. And little did the horses realize that that was not the case, that the horses were going to be put out of business very, very rapidly. And to reason through analogy, there's a lot of us who are now sitting there going, hey, wait a second, does this make me a horse in 1900? I think a lot of people don't realize how massive these kind of technologies are going to have as an impact. 1 minute we're ordering water and that's cute, and the next minute it can run for days, and in your words, it doesn't stop until it achieves its goal, and it comes up with as many different ways as it could possibly come up with to achieve its goal. And in your words, it better know what that goal is.